All right, joining us in the house for the hour, our good friend Roshini Rajkumar, communications coach. She's been on these airwaves in the past. Roshini, good to talk to you.
As always, Eric, great to be here. Thanks for having me on. It is just a hot week in sports.
Hot week outside, hot week in sports. Yeah, a lot going on, and we like to get into marketing and gossip and all that stuff in the world of sports when we bring you in. Let's start with the image right now of two guys, and you're big into, sculpting and shaping images of people. Lance Armstrong under attack by the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. Most people know that. And then Roger Clemens, completely cleared of the PED charges a few days ago. Your advice, if you're Lance Armstrong, how do you handle this?
Well, it's like this story just won't go away. On one level, you sort of feel sorry for the guy, but with so many repetitive accusations, you also kind of wonder. I mean, we have to hope none of this is true, but what I'm understanding is that the USADA is saying there were 10 former teammates willing to testify that they either know he used performance-enhancing drugs or talked about using them or even encouraged teammates to use them. I want to see that evidence. I want to hear from those guys. And Lance Armstrong's attorneys are saying, look, not fair. You won't show us that evidence, yet you're accusing Lance of these things.
So would you say, Lance, go to the highest mountain and scream your innocence because that's what you believe, that's what you say you are? Or do you lay low for a while and let the legal folks battle behind the scenes?
Well, it's a combo, Eric. First of all, the truth will set you free. So if the truth is that he did not use these, then by all means, keep on saying these accusations are false. Stick to the same story if that is the truth. Now, let's watch over time. Does any part of this story change? And you, a very astute sports host, and Chris, a big sports fan and commentator in his own right, I'm sure you two will be keeping track of this. And the bottom line is, if you see any change up in the storyline, that's what I would suspect.
Body language. Do you look for it when these guys are professing their innocence?
Absolutely. Anything that your face, your clothing, even your body does is a subtextual message, even before you open your mouth. So if you see shifty eyes, if you see the inability to look the interviewer in the eye or look at the camera when these guys are being interviewed. Now, I saw some video after Clemens was basically pronounced not guilty of those charges last week. And, I mean, he looked pretty innocent. I mean, innocent is one of those words that, at least in the law, technically you're not declared innocent, you're declared not guilty. All right. But the media uses the term innocent because most people understand that a little better. But, Clemens didn't look like he had done anything wrong. Now, who's to say? I don't know. But at least as far as the law goes, he was found not guilty of those charges. This case, the Armstrong case, Barry Bonds, all these things bring up the problem that the government is having prosecuting these kind of charges.
What would Lance's ex, Sheryl Crow, say?
She'd probably sing him a lullaby goodnight to help him to sleep.
Take him down Santa Monica Boulevard.
Right, exactly. Well, she's no longer with him. I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question, Eric. Talk about a stumper for me. But the thing is, I want to believe, with all the good that he does with this foundation, I want to believe that these things are not true. Okay? But then you also hear he's not Mr. Sweetie Pie either. So who knows? All right. But the bottom line is, what's the storyline? How is it going to stay the same or change as time goes on? And I am extremely curious about these former teammates.
Communications coach Roshini Rajkumar in the house. It's 5:12 on a Sports Sunday. You're on WCCO. All right. Roger Clemens cleared of all the charges. PED allegations. Barry Bonds, they only got one thing to stick on him. That was obstruction of justice. So none of the PEDs really were pinned on Barry.
Right.
If you were advising these two guys, who in my eyes are Hall of Fame guys, I mean, they were great players before this stuff came out. But nonetheless, how do you rebuild their images? Because they're in the gutter.
Right. Here's where these two guys can take the high ground, and anything that does come up when they are asked to do various spokesman roles or whatever they're doing in their careers now in the sports world or non-sports world, just let the story go. Let it be behind us. And anytime it comes up, the wording that these athletes should use is, look, I was accused of something. I was cleared of those things. Let's all move on. I mean, short and sweet. The shorter and sweeter you can be with that without sounding like you're being defensive, that would be the way to go. I mean, Chris, let me ask you, because you're a big sports fan. You follow this stuff to the detail. Do you think that would be a good way to go for these athletes?
I do, and I think we've seen that kind of bear itself out. And as a matter of fact, you talk about Andy Pettitte, who was involved in this whole Roger Clemens situation. He kind of got out in front of it. He knew this was all coming down and people were going to have something to say or going to make accusations. And he came out and said, yeah, look, I did it, and took his lumps. And I guess for me, my question for you is that a common reaction? I mean, are we as the public so looking for something to knock these guys down off their pedestal that we want to hold a grudge? It felt like Pettitte took the bullet away.
Well, yeah, and again, the truth will set you free. If you've truly done this and you can see a firestorm brewing, by all means, I respect any athlete, any celebrity, any politician who just comes right out. I mean, look at, just switch to politics for a quick moment, look at the cost to the public, both in morale and in money, that whole John Edwards trial caused. Or cost us as a country. I mean, just so sad. And then he was cleared, but my goodness, not a really good scenario for anybody. And there were lies in that situation. Why did it have to get to the point of a court case? All right. So in these kinds of situations, if sort of that mea culpa, not a bad way to go, and then take your lumps, as you say, and let's see, how can I move on as an athlete or in my life or with my family, whatever it is. Just be honest. Be honest with the sports fans. Be honest with the American people. I'm not sure if the fans are always looking for the dirt, but someone is looking for the dirt,
yeah,
Chris.
Somebody like you, Roshini.
Well, no. Believe me. It's when the dirt happens and they need help,
then
they
respond,
come to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are a forgiving public. And back to what TC said. I remember when the reports came out, Andy Pettitte's name, Roger Clemens' name.
Right.
They both took two different roads as far as the way they handled it. Pettitte got out in front of it, like TC said, took some bullets for a week or two, and then it went away. It died.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, look what Clemens had to do to get to where he is.
Right.
Look what Barry Bonds had to do. Mark McGwire, kind of the same thing with that Mime Act in front of Congress.
Well, Eric, let me ask you. I mean, you've been covering these guys for years. Do you think any of these things could be true? How could these accusations come up if there's not something to them?
I absolutely do, because there's so much at stake. When you're talking about millions of dollars in revenue and endorsements, absolutely, money can corrupt. Now, am I saying I know it's true? No, I don't.
Right.
I'm not there.
Right.
But am I shocked that there's allegations against Lance Armstrong or Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire or Roger Clemens? Not at all.
Well, I think these titles, we have to remember, these are big titles. You have an Olympic title, you have a Tour de France title, any of these, huge titles. These are big deals. And these careers of these athletes started, at age 3, 5, whatever. So if there's going to be some sort of bad behavior, and if someone truly believes it's out there, I can see why they might bring up these charges or dig into it. Okay. When I was a TV news reporter, I investigated. That's when I did try to find the dirt. Okay. And when you do, you can say, look, this person did it the wrong way. Let's get him or her out of there so that all these good athletes who don't do it the wrong way can come up and surface, because these people are treated as heroes. And you better believe, as an American and as a coach, as a communication coach, I say, get it right. If you're going to be held up there and getting that kind of money and being seen as a hero or a role model, get it right. Don't lie to us.
I agree, but I will say this. I go back to 1998 when McGwire and Sammy Sosa had their legendary home run race.
Oh, I remember that. It was so fun.
And Major League Baseball was 4 years removed from a crippling strike, and the sport was on life support, and suddenly the sport had traction again. It had viewers. It had fans.
Right.
And these guys were hitting all these home runs. Chicks dig the long ball. That was the saying that year. So the sport got back on its feet thanks to this home run race that now, as we know, may have been tainted. But I don't think a lot of fans care. I think they just want to go to the ballpark,
right,
see a guy hit a home run, or see a guy, knock somebody into next week on the football field, or watch Lance Armstrong win the Tour de France. I don't think they care what these guys are doing to their bodies because you know what? It's not their body.
But here's the thing, Eric. Talk about going to the ballpark. I think American families want to go to the ballpark and not have to pay $100 for a family of 2 or 3. I think we want tickets that we can afford. And so when so much is at stake, these athletes are making multi-million-dollar contracts. Money, I'd love to see in my lifetime, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that's when this kind of stuff drives me crazy as just a person. Let's put aside the fact that I have to coach some of these people out of this crap, but it's just don't do it. There's so much at stake. How do you look at that 7-year-old boy at his first baseball game at Target Field and really look him in the eye and say, yeah, it's okay that your daddy paid $45 for this ticket? You know what I mean? That's kind of the reality check of this whole situation. So it does always come down to money. And the sad thing is the U.S. government, all of us as taxpayers, we're paying for these things to be prosecuted. So on one level, you kind of want them to find something. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of everybody's time.
It does not reflect too well on the government, does it?
No, it doesn't.
They tried to catch a couple of whales in Bonds and Clemens, and all they got was a guppy.
Right.
More with Roshini coming up on WCCO.